Yay Networks.
Did you have a miscarriage yourself or a termination? I have no judgment.
Mm-mm.
Did you have there's like a little baby I keep seeing, so like a little boy? It's all good.
I always felt, sorry,
It's okay.
I'm a crybaby. I
too.
always felt that there was a little boy
Yeah.
up in heaven for me.
Uh-huh. Because I'm like, oh, wait, where's her little boy? So, you guys been trying?
No.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Happily Ever Amber podcast. I am Amber. It's so lovely to have you here. Back again. On today's episode, we have Candace, who's a medium. I found her through Amanda Klutz, who was on my podcast a couple weeks ago. I am definitely not sure what to expect. There's a part of me that completely believes in this spiritual side. I have had a few experiences, but then there's like a side of me that also thinks that like it's not real, and then you question, you're like, am I crazy? So I'm super interested to ask her so many of these questions. Can anyone tap into their psychic abilities, or is it just specific people who are given this gift? I have no idea, but I am super excited. I can't wait to jump right into this episode. So without further ado, here we go. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for coming.
I'm so happy to be here with you.
Okay, so let's jump right into it because I have so many questions. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you.
I think Kwanzaa starts at the end of this month. I saw on the calendar. We just had Hanukkah. Now Christmas is next. Stressful time for a lot of people.
I know.
But I'm very excited you're here.
Thank you.
I want to just kind of like start from the beginning of like where you are from, what you do for people who don't know, and all that.
All the good stuff. So I'm Candace. I'm a medium, and I talk to the dead to make it simple, but I bring through past loved ones who have passed over to the other side, and I like to make it just a really light experience for people. Bring through messages and validations. I don't know how light you can get with death, but I'm from Boston originally, just south of Boston. Yep. And so I'm a masshole, and being in LA is quite the journey. So
What brought you out to LA?
My fiance, he was living out here first, and he's been here for like almost 20 years, but we started long distance dating, 7 years ago almost.
So I have a question on your did you meet him on an app?
So it's crazy. My sister and my brother-in-law lived in LA, and he happened to work at the same store as my brother-in-law. Then they ended up being roommates, and I never met him at that time that they were roommates. And then maybe a year after they had went their separate ways, I came out to LA to visit my sister, and she was like, do you mind if I invite Yolando to dinner? I would love for you guys to like meet finally. And I was like, yeah, sure. So we met, and I was like, holy crap, this guy is so hot that I was like, he's probably an asshole. Sorry, do you swear on this thing?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's probably such an asshole that I'm not even going to bother talking to him.
Yeah.
So I didn't even look at him during the dinner because we had other friends there. And a year later, he reached out on Instagram, and he told my sister, like, make sure when you go back to Boston, say hey to your sister. And
wow.
So when she told me that, I was like, well, what else did he say? And she's like, that's it. And she just was like,
okay, because I was going to say, if it was like a dating app, you could have been like, yeah, I'm a medium. Like, how many guys actually like probably feel like that's a joke, or like they're like, wow, like I got to take a step back.
That was the hard experience before I met Yolando. It was like the dating apps, and people are like, so what do you do for a living? And it's like, oh God. And it's like crickets after that.
Do you ever make something up and like just not tell them?
I have told people that I was a hairstylist, which I do have my license, but I was not doing hair at all.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Or I'll tell them I'm a grief counselor, but like for the most part, I would say it straight up because I was looking for somebody, I was looking for like the right person. And if they would just like, after that didn't contact me, I was like, I know why.
Yeah. I just imagine someone on the street, like, just randomly talking, or you're sitting at a cafe and they're like, what business are you in? Because I feel like that's like a very LA thing to do, or like what part of the entertainment business are you in? And
yes.
You're like, well,
I know.
I entertain the dead.
Yeah, literally. when it comes to conversations like that, whoever I'm with, they're like, so what do you do for a living? And I'll like look at the person next to me, we just start laughing. And I'm like, I'm a medium. And it depends on the person.
They probably think you're joking sometimes, right?
Some people are like, what's a medium? Like, I'm extra large. What do you mean? And it's like, well, I'm you're a medium in clothing too. But yeah, people are a little bit confused, or they know exactly what I'm talking about. Or some people are like, oh, cool. And they don't want to like ask any more questions.
Right. So when did this start? When was your first experience?
So from what I remember, when I was like around maybe like 6 years old, I started to see like kind of quick spirits out of the corner of my eye. And then I would hear things and I would know things and I would tell my mom like, things that a 7-year-old, 6-year-old really shouldn't know. And so when I was 7, my Auntie Pam passed away. And when she passed over, she was only 30 at the time. When she passed over, I was hearing her voice. And so I told my mom like all these things. And she's like, Candace, how do you know this? Are you listening to my phone calls? Like, I don't get it. So 2 years later, after my aunt passed away, my mom had to go under a surgery. And before her surgery, she prayed to her sister and her dad are both in heaven to make sure that she made it out okay. And during her surgery, she saw her sister and her father right before her. And it was just a wild experience for her that she, after recovery, called my Aunt Maureen, which is my dad's sister. They're one of 9 kids, a big Irish Catholic family. So my grandmother, instead of going for like 5 kids, she went for 9 kids.
Wow.
And I couldn't understand why my mom was just telling Maureen about it. And I had to ask her at 9 years old. I'm like, Mom, why are you telling Auntie about seeing, Auntie Pam and your dad? And she's like, well, Auntie's a medium. And I'm like, what's a medium? She was like, well, she can connect to the other side. And I was like, okay, we're absolutely insane. I knew we were like crazy, but like I didn't know we were this insane. So it all started to unfold kind of after that, helped me understand, but like no one was guiding me through it because I kind of kept it to myself. I didn't even say in that moment, oh, Mom, I have that too, because you think you're nuts, you think you're insane. And so a few years after, when I was 14, my cousin Sean passed away unexpectedly. He was killed working underneath his car. And I started to hear him wildly, like the most insane signs you would ever hear and know. And my Aunt Maureen Hancock, who's really well known in the New England area, she was like, oh, shit, you have this too? All right. Let me take you under my wing. And so from there, it started to really unfold. Pretty wild.
I'm in shock.
I know.
Wow.
Lots of stuff.
Just when you're you were in school, right? And like, would you experience that with your peers or your friends?
I did.
You probably really freaked a teacher out too, a couple times.
Yeah. I had read a few students. I remember this girl, I think I was in the 10th grade. Her brother had just died in a car accident. And I kind of like went over to her and I whispered to her, I was like, hey, like I'm a medium and I can connect to their side. And I started to bring through all this stuff. And we're in the back of like biology class and she's just like crying. That's all. It's so funny. Like when I'm in the medium mode, it's hard for me to remember a lot of things, but I do remember that. And I remember after high school, I went to cosmetology school. And that's where I came out of my spiritual closet and I started to read people because I didn't know anybody. I didn't know their names, where they came from. And so when I started to read them, I was helping myself understand that I wasn't making this up in my head, that I was actually getting messages and validation. So from there, I started to read all the students, all the staff, all the clients. I failed my license test.
Oh my God, it was like a side hustle in like high school.
Yeah,
huh?
literally. Well, after high school is when I went to cosmetology school. That's when I started to do it. But I was just reading everybody every day for 11 months. And it was wild. It was overwhelming. So.
Wow. So when you go into a grocery store, is it just random people, or do you have to have, be asked, right?
So when I was probably in high school and like maybe in my early 20s, I didn't know how to turn it off. So I was like, I'd walk into a gas station and all of a sudden the person who was ringing me out, I'd be like, oh, and I would either say something or I wouldn't say anything at all. And then I'd be sitting with it all day. But I can control it now. Before I couldn't. Like I didn't realize there was an off switch. So I constantly had it on. But now I can just walk into a store, I can go to a restaurant or whatever, and I can just like be chill. But it definitely pops in time to time where I'm like, ooh, and I start to like, want to read somebody. So when Amanda Klutz walked into dance class, I knew.
Oh, you take that dance class too?
I do.
I want to take it.
You have to.
Oh my
it's
gosh.
so empowering. It's amazing.
Oh,
yes.
I want to. Okay, we'll all go together.
Absolutely. We're constantly in the masculine energy. Work.
Yes.
It's like getting into the feminine energy and like connecting with yourself is like the best medicine. So please come.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you feel like everyone has this capability, or it's just a gift that a select few people have been given?
So I think everybody has the ability to connect. I think that some are just a little bit more heightened than others. We're all energy. Like our physical body, your body's energy, my body's energy. I just think that there's baseball players out there who are amazing, but then there's like Major League Baseball where some are just like really freaking good, you know, that kind of thing. So I think everybody has the connection to it, but it's just how much time and energy you put into it.
Do you have to work? Is it like a muscle where you have to work it? Like you have to, like you feel like sometimes you are more connected in the earth world. I don't know if that's like a possible, my English is not great today, obviously. Do you feel like you get stuck here, whereas like you have to zone into the other side? Like spirituality, imagine it's like a religion or a spiritual, you have to practice it. Do you feel like you like need to zone in, you need to meditate, or you need to do certain things throughout the day to stay like muscled?
Yeah, I love the muscled. That's exactly how I explain it, actually.
Yeah.
I tell people, you don't just go walk into a gym and then all of a sudden you're picking up 250 pounds. You have to start small and you have to keep going at it and going at it and going at it, and you have to be consistent. And meditating, taking care of your body work, making sure that you're in a good energy zone, your environment is good. You're constantly having to work at it. And it doesn't come super easy for some people. I remember starting off and I was hearing things, but then I was like, am I getting that right? Or I wouldn't hear anything at all. And so it definitely is a muscle that you have to constantly work at, for sure.
Let's talk about dreams, because I know I was sharing with you my crazy dreams that I had last night. But tell me, because you were explaining that your dreams are like on all the time.
All the time. So not necessarily just about dead people, just like the most wacky, wild dreams. And I think it's because I'm constantly like, I feel like my pineal gland, my third eye, my crown chakra is just constantly open, that I feel like it just connects to energies in the world. And I just don't know. I shut off. I know how to shut off, but it's just like the most wild dreams every night that I'm just like, what did I just dream of? I've never done acid before, but I feel like this is what acid's like.
Probably is.
Yeah.
What's the first thing that you said? Not the third eye, before the third eye.
The pineal gland.
What is that?
The pineal gland is it's in the center of the head, in the very direct middle. It looks like a little pine cone shape, and this actually has the same rods and cones as your actual eyeball. So this is like the third eye. So this is where you're like connecting in and seeing things. And that's why you might have a quick vision, or you think of somebody, and then the next day they call you and you haven't talked to them in like 6 months. So yeah, it's pretty wild.
Is it in your brain? It's in your near your prefrontal cortex.
Yeah, it's like right in the middle of your brain, the very center.
Okay, got it.
So if I can cut my brain open, it's right in the middle there.
Oh, got it. So have you ever taken your gift, I guess, because that's essentially what it is, and gone to study it? You know, because I know there's places throughout the United States where people could really go to learn, tap in. Like ordinary people do it to get more spiritual and in tune with this energy. And then some people that have this gift, I imagine you're able just to, I don't know. I know these schools exist. Do you know what schools I'm talking about?
I know exactly.
Okay, sorry. Will you help me out? Because I don't know what they're called, but that thought just came to me. Like, wait, what? I know there's a school out there.
Yep. So I didn't go to any schools, but I did take James Van Prague's courses. My Aunt Maureen Hancock, she had courses, so I was constantly going to those. I read a ton of books. I remember when Sylvia Browne's books. I read James Van Prague's books. Anything that just like, it helped me understand what I was feeling, especially when I was like 15, I was reading these books.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. But I've been doing this since I was 19 full time. So a production company from LA came to Boston to film my family and I for a TV show. Oh. And there was about 70 people packed into a small store in Massachusetts, and my Aunt Maureen was supposed to do the readings. But they were at the football field where her son was at, filming there prior to the show. And my cousin broke his leg while he was playing football, of course. And so my aunt, of course, had to go to the emergency room with him. And now we have 70 people packed into the store. The producer came up to me, my cousin, who's also a medium, and said, you guys need to get the show started because we can't have these people waiting here.
Yeah.
As soon as Maureen can get here, she will switch it out. And but go right ahead. And we just shit our pants. We're like, what? We were in front of we've read 1 or 2 people at a time, but not 70. So that's what jump started me into this. And then that's when I really started to dive deep into like understanding it more and more and more, just so I could be the best vessel possible for people who are grieving and just to give them like the peace. So that's when like kind of really like the big learning started, was around 19.
Wow.
Yeah. It runs in the family too.
Yeah, I was
going to
say, so genetically, it's something that's just been passed on, right?
From what I understand, my great-grandmother lived in Ireland, and she would read out of her thatch cottage, her and her sister. They would have people outside their door, like, waiting for a reading.
Oh, my God.
I know. It's pretty wild. And then she came over to Boston and started, that's where we kind of landed, the Irish. And so my grandmother totally had it, but she was devout, like, Irish Catholic.
Yeah.
So she would know things and say things to you and like wink, but she would never outright say yeah, exactly. Don't tell. But my dad has it. My aunts.
Oh, really? Your dad has it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does. And he didn't tell my mom until after my cousin Sean passed. So they were already married for 16, 17 years at that point. And he's like, I got to tell you something. She was like, what? Like, why haven't you told me this? So, yeah.
Do all the mediums ever get together and hang out?
Like all in our family?
Well, I mean,
or like the mediums in general?
Like if there's like a union.
The Witches Club, Hogwarts, yeah. I definitely have hung out with like people who are in that realm for sure. They're all like, most of the people I know are back in Boston, so I don't get to like hang with them. But yeah, there's definitely been times where we've like all gotten together, and it's kind of a little witchy, I guess. But
okay, so last question: what is the craziest thing that you've experienced when reading someone?
Well, I have a couple things that I can think of like right off the bat. Live events that we've experienced, like 9/11, I've pulled people through for that. People have been murdered. But one thing that really sticks out to me that I love was an unexpected reading. I was actually probably around 22, and I was going through like a high, like I was really depressed. I was really just didn't know where I was at in life. I feel like such an old soul in a young body that I felt a little bit trapped. And so I remember texting my friend Brittany, and I said, what are you up to? She said, oh, we're just having dinner at my family's house. My mom and dad's, come on over. So I drove over there, and I show up in my sweatpants, sweatshirt, like hair on top of my head. And I walk in. It's like a formal dinner. I'm like, oh, my God. Her aunt and uncle are there, and I've met them like once or twice before. So I'm sitting at the end of the table, and the uncle had started to ask me questions about the mediumship. So he just was asking questions. You could tell he was intrigued, but maybe a little bit skeptic about it. And so I started to all of a sudden, like, it came on really strong. And this is like, I couldn't shut off the light. I was like, shut. My heart
not now.
Not now. We're at dinner. And so I was like, let's like shut off the light here. And it wouldn't shut off. So my heart's racing. And all of a sudden I see this young guy, and he said, you have to tell him it's okay. He thinks he's responsible for my death. So I said, his name. And I said, can I ask you a question? And everyone's there. And I said, do you understand of taking responsibility for a young guy's passing? He said, I do. I said, and all of a sudden I saw everything. I said, you guys were in like a black Ford Ranger up in New Hampshire. You were driving down a dirt road. You weren't even going fast. And you hit a ditch, and your truck flipped, and it killed the guy. He was like, started bawling his head off. And I said, you guys didn't even have shirts on because it was like the 4th of July time. And you guys were running to the Packy, which is a liquor store if you're not from Boston. And I said he left his necklace like on the back of the toilet, like, the toilet and things like that, very specific stuff. And I said, he just was crying so hard. He was just like this. He couldn't believe it. And a week later, I got a letter in the mail from him, and I still have it. And it said, I just want to let you know that after 34 years, I finally feel liberated from this awful pain that I've experienced, feeling guilty of his death. Here's a token of my appreciation, and gave me a $500 check. And I was just like, it wasn't even about the money. It was just like the gesture and like the fact that he had said, I've done therapy and it's never worked for me. And now I feel like I can finally live with myself. Wow. So that was really impactful and something that I'll never forget. And that's something that pops in my mind when people ask me, like, what's something that comes up for you? So that's definitely one of them. And I've been working on a missing person case and things like that. So it's a little bit of everything, we'll just say.
So you do work with, thank you for sharing that, by the way.
Of course.
You do work with, I'm sure it's like the FBI or local sheriffs. Local sheriff. Like
sheriffs.
I just went into like a Yellowstone moment or something.
Local sheriffs, on the horses and stuff.
Yeah.
No, I do work with a forensic doctor who goes into specifics and is like their own investigator, and they have their own foundation. So it's kind of like a little bit active. So that's probably as much as I can say now, but I'm hoping that we do find the remains. And when we do, then we can, I can, share it with everybody. But we do bring in police and also like cadaver dogs and things like that. So, yeah.
Very interesting. Well, thank you.
Of course. So I'm just going to explain how it works so you know what to expect. And I also asked Riley if it was okay with her. If spirit does come in, it might sneak in because she's right here. So, so how I'm able to connect is in 3 different ways. So I'm able to see, feel, and hear. So when I see your loved ones, it's almost like when you're thinking of a memory or flashback. Sometimes those memories are incredibly clear. We remember every detail, or other times we can only remember bits and pieces of it. So when spirit's impressing my mind, I'm able to maybe see everything, or I'm only seeing bits and pieces of it. And then how I hear them is almost like you're on your cell phone. The reception might be clear, or it's cutting in and out. And then there's also a way that I'm able to feel. So I can feel how they passed away. And I can also feel maybe their emotions and feelings and things that they didn't get to express here that they like to express now. I don't bring through anything bad. So it's all good stuff. It's a collect call to the other side. And that this is a time for healing. Like I tell people, laugh, cry, shit yourself. So if you're going to cry, cry. If you're going to shit yourself, you're right at home. So... And
that's so great.
Yeah. And that the more comfortable you are, it's easier for me to connect. And I don't get uncomfortable when people cry. It's like so normal. I've had people snot on my face before. I'm like, oh my God. And what else? I have a database of names A through Z. So I'm going to hear John first for a harder name like Jaden. I'm going to hear Mary first for a harder name like Miriam. They will shout out to the living too. So they want to say hi, It's just like, it doesn't mean anything bad. They want to say hello, or they're giving a little extra love, that kind of thing. So, and I don't get the difference between in-law, half-step, or ex. I'm like, oh my God, your dad's here. You're like, no, he's still living. I just spoke to him yesterday. It's all good. It might be a father-in-law or a father-in-law you didn't get to meet, or it might be a grandfather that helped raise you, that kind of energy. Even after all these years, I can't get the difference between aunts and moms and dads and uncles because it all feels the same energy-wise. And keep in mind of those who have been passed for 20 years, 30 years, they might sneak in and say hello, even if you didn't get to meet them. And I don't have control of who comes in. I just get to be the mailman that picks up all the mail and drops it off. So so it doesn't make sense to me. So that's where I'm going to be telling you things, and you're gluing it together for me. If things don't make sense right now, hold on to it. It might make sense later. Because in the moment, it might be a little bit overwhelming. And you're trying to think of everything. And later it's like, oh my God. I get emails all the time that's like, oh my God, Candace, you kept saying Henry, and I wasn't connecting it. And that's my dad. He's dead. Can you connect back with him? And it's like, wait, how did you forget his name? So, so we have fun with it, and so that's it. So all right. So just give me just a moment while I just start to connect in here. So okay. So it's interesting because it keeps bouncing back and forth between you two here. It's pretty awesome. So let me know if one makes sense over the other. All right. So as we're sitting here, there's strong female energy that's like right when when you came walking, you're like, hi. And it was just like a really strong female energy that was right next to you. So immediately there'd be a grandmother connection, but it's not just about her today. There's other people that are also here. So just want you to know that grandmother, I don't know which side it's on just yet, but I feel like one's a little bit more closer. Do you understand that? Mm-hmm. Okay. So the closer one is trying to come on in here. The other one is also past, correct? The other grandmother? Or you don't know her, you have never met her, or she's like physically far away from you?
Yeah, no, just one great grandmother that's passed away.
Okay, I'm going to hold on to it for 1 second. So I feel like your great grandmother here, she's just calling me the grandmother. She's just like, no, don't to worry. You know, she's just like, all is good. She's spicy though. She's got a little spice to her because it's like all of a sudden she's like, so what are we doing? Are we going to switch this? She's kind of a little opinionated. So she's like, are we switching out this like table here? I think we need something else. So she's kind of like coming in. She's just like, that's just her energy and her personality. So, but I also had somebody, and I'm going to hold on to this because I also had somebody young that was also coming in for you too. So I want to be able to connect in with that. So earlier, even before I was coming here, when I see this symbol, it means responsibility. So when I see responsibility, it means somebody takes responsibility for their own passing, which would be like a suicide or an overdose connection. And so I want to hold on to this because I feel like you might have this connection here that will link to somebody else. You understand that? Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you have a miscarriage yourself or a termination? I have no judgment. Mm-mm. Did you have there's like a little baby I keep seeing. So like a little boy. Did you want another one? You're so damn cute.
Stop it!
It's all good.
I always felt, sorry, I'm like
it's okay.
I'm a crybaby.
I
always felt that there was a little boy.
Yeah.
Up in heaven for me.
Uh-huh. Because I'm like, oh, wait, where's her little boy? So you guys been trying?
No.
Okay. So it felt like there's just like a little boy and it just like, yeah, like it's just like you're not done yet. So, be careful. If you're not ready yet.
I better go check my IUD.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Exactly. So I keep saying, I don't know what kind of birds are out here in LA because I live under a rock.
So so out here I get a ton of hummingbirds.
Beautiful.
And my great grandmother and my great grandfather that passed away.
Okay, excellent.
We used to sit and watch the hummingbirds, and so my entire life, like when I see him.
You know it's him with the hummingbird.
So for the longest time, I just saw one. And then once my great-grandmother passed away, I saw two. And they were always together. And I was like, there they are.
Question. You're so psychic. Like, you're so in tune. Like, your third eye is very big. That's why you sense people and you're an empath and you feel for others and, like, you feel almost their pains. Mm-hmm. So you understand somebody who may have had, like, a massive heart attack or if there was something with heart-related, COPD connection.
My great-grandmother.
COPD?
She had heart issues.
Okay. All right. So, and this is your great-grandmother who was the one that was coming in first. Mm-hmm. Okay. Got it. She's
Grandma
probably
Johnson.
Like, hello, I'm here.
My mom said, make sure you tell Grandma hi, because my mom was basically raised by her grandmother.
Wow. So she's super close. Really like a grandmother than a great-grandmother to you know? So this is awesome. No wonder why she was coming in first. She's in your home. She loves being in here, you know, as much as she's like nitpicky a little bit. Like, what are we doing over here? Are we going to do this? Mm-hmm. She loves it in here. She just said, tell your mom, thank you. I feel like she helped make the decision to I feel like there's a lot of taking care of. As much as your grandmother took care of her, I see vice versa. Mm-hmm. I see your mom taking care of her. And she just says, like, it's like without question that I even had to say thank you, but she's saying thank you. I also feel as though she just said, like, I was just starting to croak in the lightest way possible. She's like, everything was starting to shut down for me. And I feel as though mom, your mom had to kind of make those decisions and be there. Mm-hmm. I also see you as a second voice. So whether you're there a lot or your mom, you were the backboard for your mom when it came from this time. Do you understand this? So
not right now.
Okay, hold on to it because I feel as though there is like I feel as though your mom helped. I feel like there's one other person she may have helped pass over to the other side. Your mom, who she may have looked after, and this
her dad.
Okay, because I feel as though there's decisions that had to be made to let them go. So yeah, okay, let's hold that there. There's that Elizabeth connection that keeps coming in over here. So who's Elizabeth?
That's Riley's middle name.
Oh shit, she just walked.
It's funny because
Little teddy bear.
when she was, I don't know. It's like maybe there was Elizabeth.
Interesting.
It was so weird. I just came up with that middle name, but it's Riley Elizabeth.
Okay.
Emmett.
Okay. So hold that there for a moment, and wow, it's just like you guys have a lot of people on the other side. It's a little bit wild, but your give me a moment, because she also is showing me like a sister over there. She also has a sister, correct? Who's the sister? Like there's like a female that's on the side of your grandmother. And so it could be a best friend who's like soul sister, but I'll hold it off. It's not super important to me right now, but just had to mention it because it's there. Mm-hmm. So, but everything feels good. Like I feel like she's just like, there's nothing to worry about here either. Like where you're like right where you're at, and I think she shows that your brain goes, and am I doing this? Should I do this? You're doing just fine for yourself, is what she keeps saying. And she's like rooting you on. And she has front row seat for every time that you're doing your work. She's like front row seat, and she is just like amazed. Now, she never got to see you in action with your work, correct? Mm-mm. Okay. Because she just said, like, I see you right in the front, and she gets to watch. And see her just like with a coat on, and she's just like all well put together. And she's just letting you know that she sees all this. So did you just get a role, like a big role?
No, but do you see one coming?
Yeah. It's pretty, like it's a good one. Like it feels like it's like, like a little bit more dark. And it's like something
that I love.
Oh, perfect.
I love doing dark stuff.
Oh, awesome. She's got this beautiful innocent face. I love doing dark stuff. I do. Awesome. Okay. So,
can I get the date?
Yeah, right? When is this happening? Exactly. I gotta get ready. So, have you done an intimate scene before? Mm-hmm. Okay, because it feels like there's like an intimate scene. It feels dark. It feels like there's some stuff there.
Ooh, yeah.
I personally have not seen your work, and I did that on purpose because I was like, I don't want to know nothing. I don't want to see anything. All I know is that your character's name was Candace. Yeah. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes. So my fiance is an actor. He's like, she was Candace too.
Yeah.
So so it's funny, but so just know that that's what your grandmother keeps on like winking and like kind of showing this. So let me know when it happens.
Thank you.
Okay? So I know everything's been crazy with strike went up, but she just kind of kept showing me that. So give yourself a little bit of patience. It might not be tomorrow or next month. It might be a few months from now. But just hold on to that, okay? So don't stress. Yep, all is good. So, man, it just feels like your grandmother is kind of like after she passed away. She keeps on talking about some of her things. And was there some? I feel like she has her own children, correct? Your grandmother, and
my Nana.
Yes, and then so one moment. So that's your great grandmother who helped raise your. Yep. Oh yeah, duh. Hello. You exist. Does she have children? So good. So psychic. But it felt like there was almost like when she passed, it felt like there was kind of like a little bit of a rough patch with some maybe family members that might have happened after the fact. So whether that's like kind of like figuring out what to do with her passing, you understand that?
She probably knows that we're all meeting to go through her house in January.
Okay, because that's what she's talking about. She does not want, because this makes or breaks families. Who gets what and this and that. She's like evenly down the middle. She just is like kind of splitting this. She keeps on showing me 3. So does she have 3 children, or where does the 3 come in?
2 children.
And then with your mom, would it be
yeah, that's one way to look at it.
Okay, because she's just kind of like, take what you need, get rid of what you don't, And so she has her own home. Okay, and now you guys are going to sell that home, correct? Okay, because she's like, yep. Like she's like going like this, like go right ahead. So she's letting you guys know it's all good, and she's making sure that everybody's doing it fairly, because there's some stuff there. So just know that she's just all good with it, and I think giving mom that like kind of peace, because I feel like that home she's been in for a little bit of time now. So it's okay to let that go, and she just wants her to know, like, don't even worry about it, because she's like right here. I feel like your mom's trying to grasp onto something, to hold on to your grandmother. So if you could just let her know it's all good. Your grandmother's telling me, she's like, I lived my life. I lived my life, And she's like, I lived long enough and I'm good with that. Like she keeps on kind of like raising up her hands. And she just said like, I'm lucky and I didn't lose kids. She just feels like she's telling me like, I'm good. And so I feel like there is a piece with her passing. I feel like I'm losing my mind a little bit. So when I see that, it means a little bit of dementia or Alzheimer's connection. So if somebody also had like a little bit of loss of the mind, it feels next to your grandmother because she's so sharp that it's just like,
her daughter recently had a stroke. So my Nana.
Okay, got it. I feel like she's healing from that, and she's going to bounce back from it slowly, but she's good. So just trust that. So when I see the mind, when I see Alzheimer's or dementia, it can also mean stroke or aneurysm. When I feel it in the front here, so just know that. But I don't know. I feel like this is good. Let me know when you're pregnant because it just feels like this little baby keeps popping back up. This little boy, like you're supposed to have a little boy mom, you know what I mean? So you just trust that. But oh my goodness. And what was the other thing? Who's Jewish?
The rabbi next door, Rabbi Riley. Speaking of Rabbi Riley, there she is. So her Grandma Coco, who's still here with us.
Okay.
That side of the family. My ex-husband's side of the family is Jewish.
Got it. And her grandfather's passed?
Her grandfather? No. He's still
male. Who's the male on your ex-husband's side that's passed? So I'll see if I can get specifics because all of a sudden I just felt it. So
okay.
We'll put it off to the side, but we'll hold on to it. And it's got a Paul connection too. That's that PA connection I keep getting. Like I know I was getting Pat. There's a Paul connection. So you understand that?
Paul?
Yeah. Who's that Paul? Hold on to it. It might make sense later. We'll hold on to it there. But anyways, so I feel like when I start to settle down, they feel like relaxed. Like they're like, okay, we just got out all of our stuff. Like we're here, and like with everybody trying to bounce on in. So, and then with your side of the family, your grandmother, and she knows that she'll be there with you guys when you're going through the house and stuff. And I keep seeing like very, very old photos that are like stocked away. So do you know where those are at?
Mm-mm.
Okay, you'll find them. They're very old. I always keep seeing like this white trim, and it's just like it's really beautiful. So, but she's like, take what you want. So I keep seeing a very, very like very gentle, like elegant necklace that you might find. She's like, go for it. So just like snag it. But she's awesome. She's great. And your uncle who passed away, and I know your dad's friend who also had killed himself, just came in to say hello, but not here to take the spotlight. And but you just know that you're so surrounded. And I feel like they just want you to know like everything's good, and they're showing you all these good things, and it's all great. And the uncle I know you never got to meet, but he's so divinely connected to you, and that's why you get very emotional with him. And you are your dad's earth angel here, and you also have a brother as well. Who's that male? Who? Do you have another sibling?
I have 2 sisters.
One might be a little bit more male energy.
Yeah.
But I kept seeing a little extra love that way to that one sister of equal love, but maybe a little extra love, nothing to worry about. Hello from heaven, maybe those kind of things. So, but just know it's all good. And Uncle Mike, is here to hang out. Michael. He corrected me. He just said Michael. And they're all good. And so just know that they're safe and well. And the best part is we get to see them again. And they're just on the other side. And wow, it's pretty awesome. There's one other person that keeps trying to come in for you, and I just don't know who the frig it is.
Is it John?
Who's John?
My cousin.
Okay, because I was about to like back out, and they're like, wait. So your cousin who passed. Okay, 1 minute.
Maybe.
No, this goes back a little bit of time, correct? Okay, because he's waving me on like, I've been here, we're good. So you got a lot of beautiful people on the other side. You have a beautiful family. John over here. Okay, 1 minute. Now, is his mom still living? Okay, you're going to be the messenger. So do you speak to her? Do you talk to her? Okay. Somehow, some ways, it might get there. If you don't speak to her, it's okay. If there's some stuff
there's
in the
not
family.
like we're not estranged, right? We just
don't talk all the time. That's okay.
Yeah, John's my second cousin actually, but I always called him my cousin.
Yeah, all good. So, he's waving me on like it's been a little bit of time. So, he's all good, settled there. I feel like, man, He's when I have a spirit that comes in, I can feel them, and it's like I'm cracking them open, like, tell me more, what's going on? It's like they kind of like want to put on the show a little bit. He's like in front of the ladies, and he's like, what's going on? Hey, how you doing? He's just like, so when are we going out? He's like ready to party kind of thing. So he's got a little, he kept showing me the drink, and kind of showing me like a little bit of drinking there. So now, again, a little bit of responsibility in the passing too. And he's kind of like, ooh, shit. I feel like this is kind of fast, because he's like, oh, shit, man. Like, didn't mean for that to happen that way. So just know that. Is he older than you?
Yeah, just a few years.
Okay, because it feels like, I know like he's your cousin, but it almost feels like when you guys are all together, it's like that's almost like a sibling love, because he sees you more like a sister more than anything. So please know that. So I keep seeing you as like a little sister, and he keeps going back in time to when you were little. He goes, she looks the exact same just as an adult, with like the blonde hair. He just is awesome. So he's showing me this is a very fast passing, and he said he didn't mean for it to go that way. When I see a pooling of blood, that shows me like there's like it might have been something in the brain where there's like just a little bit of like a swelling.
There was swelling in his brain.
Okay. Because it feels like there's almost like blood that's not, it feels like, yes, that stroke kind of energy. It feels like it's just kind of exploding in the brain kind of thing. So I feel like there might have been a vessel that might have been a little bit imploded there. So
I think that's what happened.
Yes, because I feel like as though, I don't know if he was on medications at the time.
I don't know.
Okay, because that's where it feels like there's something in my system, but it doesn't feel on purpose. And so that he didn't mean for that. And his friends, like, he just doesn't blame them whatsoever. And he's like, no guilt, no blame. It was just an accident. So, and so he's awesome. I know he wasn't the same after, it's fully the same. And so it was always maybe like hard to kind of see him, that way. And so just know that he passed so quickly. Like it was just like I closed my eyes and I went to heaven. So he didn't like experience that moment of like, oh my God, she's out of the room. I need help. It was just like kind of like whoop, over onto the other side.
He was on life support for a long time, and then they ended up having to pull the plug because he was just going to end up being.
He said he had no brain activity anyway.
Yeah,
like there was there was just no brain activity. He wasn't gonna come back from it. And he's so glad that they took him off life support, because he's like, I would never live my life like that. So he was already passed. He kind of had like one foot in the door to heaven and one foot here. And that he was able to just, kind of be here when like people were visiting, but he was able to go to the other side like fully when it was time. But he wasn't stuck in any way. He just was, all good. So he definitely had his foot in the door to heaven. He was all good. But I know that now 19, 20, he was 19 when he passed, 20?
Yeah, I think it was just around 19, 18, 19.
So young. So he still lives. And I know that you think of him. And he's going to be a big hawk in the sky. So you'll see him. It'll just be floating right over.
I see him all the time then.
Awesome.
Then he's here all the time.
Awesome. You might even catch him just sitting in a tree, and you just happen to find like, oh my gosh. So just know that. And I know he didn't get to have the kids here, but I feel like he got to live many lives before this, and he was more of like a teaching tool for so many people, just like how to live your life. So just know that. But if you were to have a little boy, were you going to middle name John? Did you ever think of that?
No.
He's kind of like, well,
okay,
think
John,
about it.
I hear you.
Yeah. I hear you loud and clear. So, but yeah, he's here too. So he was not gonna leave without me. He wasn't going to let me end it without him coming in to say hi. I know it's been some time, but that was a first big passing for you. Do you understand that? Because that was like the first time you really experienced the grief. And he knows like how hard that was for you. He heard you, like even when you were in your room, and you're like, please just send me something. I need to know. So he heard you through all those moments. Even when you were driving or started to drive, I feel like he just said like, I was with you. He's like, she's an okay driver. He's kind of like God. But he's he heard you in those moments. And so seeing them that way, you held his hand because he said, I felt you holding my hand. And I know that you were just looking at his face. Yeah. And it was like almost hard for you to go near his face. And, some people were kissing him and things like that. But I see you just looking at him. And it was kind of like, do I kiss him on the, do I touch his hand? This is weird.
It was so weird. But he was like one night he came to me, and I think and I questioned if that was, it was him. But then that kind of like made me feel like I I have that ability to see and feel. And that night really freaked me out.
Okay. So were you dreaming of him? Is that what you mean? Or you saw him physically?
I just felt he was there.
Yeah.
I was like, John?
Yeah.
Like, it was like
an immediate, like
whoa.
You knew. You're not crazy.
Hi? But then I felt like, yeah.
You're not crazy. And so trust that. It was like that moment where it's like, oh my God, you're here.
Yeah.
So you feel him. You might have a dream of him again soon. Those are live visits. So when you have a dream where you're like actually hugging them, or you're like they're waving from a distance, or you see them smiling, it's a live hello from heaven. So they're able, your energies are able to connect on the astral plane, so you can see them. So it's pretty neat.
Wow.
So just know, I know that was hard, but that was everything. And just know that he felt you and heard you and heard everybody. And so it was hard for him to let go, and that's his heart's so damn strong, like, that he didn't just pass right away. And like after the life support, I should just say. So do you understand that? Like after he was taken off life support, his heart's just very strong. So as is, but he just said I was just because his parents are there and everything, it wasn't as easy for him to just go. But he wasn't stuck in any way. I think when people get like, oh, were they stuck? It's like, no, they weren't freaking stuck. So they're good. So just know that he's good. He's here. He has never left you even after all these years. But he knows that was the hardest thing that you had to go through. That was your first hard passing, and one of the most kind of tragic too, for sure. So just know that you guys are brother and sister more than anything. And he considers you like his sister, and it's all good. So he's safe, he's well, and he loves you. It's just another energy field. That's all it is. It's just like we're in the physical body. When we're done with this earth school, we get to go to the other side and be with our loved ones again. And that the physical body might no longer exist, but their soul still lives on. Their soul is made up of so much energy, and energy can't be destroyed. And so love never dies. So thank you guys so much, and I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Let's just take a moment and thank you, Candace, for coming on. Wow, I don't even know what to say. I know I need to run into my bedroom right now and just write down everything that she told me. Candace is amazing. If you guys have any questions for her, you could find her on Instagram. I will link her profile to all of her socials. And just know that your loved ones are always there with you. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode as much as I did taping it. And please feel free to share this podcast with anyone in your life that you think will benefit from any of the past episodes. I also would love to hear who you guys would like to see on the podcast. I wish everybody a happy holidays and happy new year.
Yay Networks.